All right, all right. I just want to say welcome to Burnt Offerings. And we're waiting for a couple guys to show up. We're playing musical chairs. But I just want to say thanks for joining. And a couple things. Go ahead and share this, because guys will be rewatching this for weeks and weeks. And then we'll probably ask you some questions, so be prepared to type. And then go ahead and jump in and, make snarky comments and everything, because that's what these guys do anyway. So, and then something to think about here. I asked Judge, because we don't read the verse ahead of time, but Judge did it. So I said, "Hey, Judge, how is today's verse? Is it any good? Is it any good?" And he goes, "Whoa, the answers came pretty easy, so I think it was. Let's see if he's right."
Of course, you didn't tell him that I talked over you, so I didn't hear your bad comment. Right?
Yeah. Here, I'll try to jump in. Let me come around. Whoa. And then we got, so Devin's missing. There's Eli's.
No sandwiches.
He went and got sandwiches.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So welcome. Hey, hopefully you can hear us. We did no sound check today.
Oh,
It sounds good. Excellent.
Great.
All right. Well, this is the usual suspects, so we're going to go ahead and start with His Honor, Judge Jim Petruccelli.
Lowercase honor.
All right. So today's verse of the day, and I hope you've all read it already. Today's verse of the day comes from Psalms 139, 23, and 24. Psalms 139, 23, and 24. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me, and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way under everlasting. Kind of a long one.
Good one, though.
Yeah. And honestly, it did come rather easy to me today. And my comment or my commentary is, we ask our Lord to come into our hearts, to examine and cleanse us. In doing so, we search for everlasting love and life. I thought it was pretty clear to me what the psalmist was saying, that we need to search out the Lord and have Him come into our heart and cleanse us and see if there's any bad stuff going on and help us out,
Okay.
I think that's it. We got it. What a blessing. Well, as we wrap things up, we'll see you next week, yeah?
Oh, you guys, I'm sure will have a lot of good thoughts.
Well, there's a couple of things in there. Would these be considered a petition to the Lord? He's saying, "Test me." What's the other? What was the other one?
I'd
Search
never
me.
like to say
Search
that.
me.
It's a
Those
scary
are like
verse
some
to me.
hardcore things that
yeah.
you're not asking almost. You're like telling Him.
Search me
Like an
and
order.
test me.
It's rough enough. That's some
pretty-
serious
Because
stuff.
as soon as you say that, he does.
He
Yeah.
does.
It's like asking for
It's
patience.
real.
But he also
John
asks,
never asked for patience. You must have been asked for patience.
I'm just
this
saying,
week.
man.
and I don't know if this is scary or not, but he also says, know my heart.
Right.
Yeah, he-
So
yeah,
come
he
into
does.
me
Know
and
my
check it
anxious-
out.
that's
See
scary.
how I'm
That's
doing.
scary also.
That's an invasive prayer.
Especially, yeah.
Know
And
my
then he goes on
anxious
to say,
thoughts.
if there's an
Yeah.
offensive way in me.
Yeah, because of what you just said. You're going to have some anxious thoughts when you're saying, "Test me on all this stuff."
Crazy thing is, he knows that, and he does know our heart. So this is basically, he was in a really interesting time where he decided, okay, I'm ready to receive the bad news or whatever.
Yeah. Come in and check it out and let me know.
Oh,
Because I'm looking to do the right thing, but, I probably have some problems going on.
Do you think there's times, though, when we really don't want God to know? I mean, we know He knows our heart, but aren't there times when you just kind of want to keep it all, like, especially if you know you're messing up,
Yeah.
like, somehow?
That's when.
That you-
Like
yeah,
omission,
that's-
sins of
when.
omission. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, you're just not going to talk about it and kind of gloss over it.
It's like when we're children. We got in trouble, and then your parents ask you what you did, and usually you lie, and they,
they already know the answer because parents never ask questions they don't already
which
know
I
the
heard a
answer
good
to.
attorney will do, right? They'll only ask questions that they know the answer to. So, but yeah, we hide from Him because we know that we've kind of messed up, and all the more reason why a loving parent is going to know, oh, you ate a cookie, or you wrote on the crayon on the wall, or whatever that it is, or you snuck out of the house. You
It's
know,
not God's
all
house,
those
yeah.
things. It's like, okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to judge, condemn, but there needs to be consequences, but not at the expense of relationship, right? And that's that fine line, I think, as my parents, I mean, my children are teenagers. It's like, you know, you don't want to lose that relationship, but you also understand that there is a truth that needs to be spoken with, of course, that grace that we need. You know, we need both. We need the both.
So I've been thinking a lot about the weddings. You're getting ready to do another wedding for somebody, and then holy smoke, we had the verse that's always used in the wedding, in a lot of weddings. Of course, the women only like part of it.
Right. I think the husbands love your
Yeah,
wife.
husband love your
The
wife.
husbands like
Yeah.
wives.
Obey your wives.
Submit.
The husband is head of the household. Submit. Yeah.
To your husband.
Yeah, it's
But
awesome.
let your husbands ask to the Lord.
Well, I didn't want to get into all of that, because all that is true, of course. But I was thinking, see, we got so sidetracked, I just forgot what I was thinking about it. So we were doing the wedding thing.
Yeah, you were
verse
talking
you said
about
that-
weddings.
Yeah. it
What
had
does that have to do with search me and know my heart? See if there's any wicked way in me.
Oh, because I think I heard you in a wedding, or some other amazing pastor equal to you was
That's not possible.
subpar, said something like, okay, on your anniversary, I want you to sit down together, hold hands, and look each other in the eyes,
That would not be
and
me.
say, honey, how am I doing?
Yeah, that wouldn't be me. That was
So
somebody
So
else.
this
That's
is
too
a great
scary,
part.
right?
So this reminds me of this. It's like really, and then it goes like this. How I heard it said, and I've heard this a number of times in weddings. And then you sit and you wait for her answer, and eventually she will finish. Then, and you just listen. It's been a year. You just sit and you let it.
No
you know,
defenses, right?
no defenses, and you just listen, and then anyway. So that reminds me of this. It's like that's some vulnerable stuff.
Yeah.
And someone,
I-
you even said, well, when we ask about how we're doing, how we
Right.
think we're doing on something, he says, well, how would your wife think you're doing
Right.
in a certain area?
Right.
I've heard this from a person before, and it's like, be careful what you ask because you may not like the answer, right?
Correct.
And so I think, even though that's worldly advice, I think in this verse, I think of the same thing. It's like, search my heart, take out the things that aren't right for me, right? And then all of a sudden he reveals it to you, either through a person or through a situation, and you're like, wait a minute, God, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And again, as I heard a pastor say, in relationships, we'll have those magnifying glasses. Like I'm looking at Seth's issues, and I'm going to really, as I get to know Seth, understand all of those things about him. But
Some
really,
of them are more glaring.
See,
some of them are. But he's saying have a mirror so that you look in yourself. So that Seth is bringing something out in me that I should see. Why am I judging him on that? Or why don't I like that he's taller than I am? Whatever that it is, right? It's something that brings back to me. It's not about Seth. It's about what God's trying to show me.
Can't really hear you.
Hold on while we park a
The more-
train.
The more I thought about this, and I wanted to go back and ask kind of what you're saying, Gary, it's kind of scary. I wanted to add to that, and once I get it all done, I hate to go back and modify everything, but it takes courage. In other words, when you ask the Lord to come in and search you and cleanse you, have the courage to do that. Because that's what it is. It takes the courage. And like you said, sometimes when you ask a courageous question, you really don't like the answer you get.
You're basically saying in that prayer, God, I'm willing to change anything.
Just not that.
I'm ready to change anything. Now tell me what it is.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, courage.
Well, it's like an
I mean,
accountable
whoa,
relationship,
whoa,
right?
what?
If you have somebody, and I think everybody should have somebody that you can talk to, and maybe it's your spouse about most things, but there are some things you need another person to give you feedback with, right?
So true.
But you have to give them permission, and right? I mean, when they're giving you permission, when they're not. Like if we get together and we have lunch, I'm not going to start pointing out whatever I think your flaws are unless you give me permission, right? Give me permission. All of a sudden says, I'm inviting the feedback.
Nice.
I'm inviting the feedback, and I'm inviting the feedback because I really want to change. I want to be different, right? So I think that's what David is doing. David is saying, God, search me.
Yeah.
Know my heart. See if there's anything in me. So he came to that, I think it's like what you said. He came to that place, he's saying, I really do want to be different. I want to be right in his eyes. I was thinking about this verse a lot, right? Because I'm thinking that I don't want to be so self-absorbed that I'm always analyzing, but am I doing anything right? And that's no way to have a relationship either, right? If you have a relationship with your spouse and you're, hey, Devin,
Hello.
and you're always thinking about, am I okay? Am I doing things right? You're living in fear. That's not good. But if if it's different where you just I want to be the very best I can be for this relationship, then sometimes you do ask and you say, okay, God, how can I be better? Because I want to bring you greater glory.
Yeah.
We got a sandwich
Do
break.
you think?
We got grilled pork sandwiches.
Oh,
there
wow.
should be 10 splits.
All right.
There's
All right.
five-
Grilled pork.
Grab a half.
Wow, this is
Yeah.
not right now. Legit.
You know, wanting to share. There's two pieces. Just go around. Sorry.
All right. So, how many times do you think if you're gonna? Well, I don't know how many times we pray this prayer, but where you think you know the answer already,
Oh, goodness, yes.
like maybe you're a little bit of a guilt or whatever, but the minute you pray, like you're willing to lay it out there and make something happen, you get
Find
your
something
blind spot
else.
revealed to you.
Right.
Yep.
Because, I mean, that's the whole deal with the blind spot, right? We can't see ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
And are you saying that you think when you pray like this that God uses somebody else to give us the
Oftentimes that
answer?
does
Is that
happen.
what that?
I think that
He
often
does all the time, I think, because again,
That's what you were saying.
we're kind of stiff-headed like that, you know.
Yeah, I think God has used my wife a lot to point out things. But the Word of God actually points out things too. Where I'll read the Bible, all of a sudden, poof! I mean, it just like comes into my head like, oh, yeah, that's what I do, and I need to get that right. But I don't want to be, and I think David was saying the same thing. I don't want to be right with God so that He likes me more, because that's not true. God
Can't brag
loves you
like
and
that.
likes you, right? And there's nothing we can do that makes Him love us more. So it's more about me being in a right relationship. There's nothing between me and God and my relationship with Him. I guess that's what
Interpret this part for me, if you would, Scott. And lead me in the way everlasting. See, I interpreted that as seeking out. I want you to examine me
Right.
and help me to be better. And through that, I want to have everlasting life with
Sure.
you and love.
I think David was certainly foreseeing an eternal life with God. So what we do on this earth matters. I mean, sometimes we think, well, I'll just screw around and then,
Until the last minute.
yeah, and pray, ask God to forgive me, and then I'll be good. Well, I think what you do in this life matters. I'm of the opinion that when you get to heaven, you still grow. I think there's still growth that happens in heaven. Not growth in the sense of you are shedding sin, because that's already done. But you continue to grow in your character to become more like Christ, right? So I think what David was saying is this is the beginning and not the end. And even when I get to heaven, it's not the end, it's a destination on the road to eternity. So he's saying, man, I want to start working on this now.
Could this also be from the perspective that Christ's salvation hadn't been a revelation to him?
True. That I think for sure. They didn't understand. He did not
works-based.
understand complete forgiveness the way we understand it through Jesus Christ. So I think for sure that's part of that.
Oh, certainly prior to the resurrection.
Yes.
Well, hey, let's pull up that one about the part about being anxious, and just look at that one second.
Oh, anxious thoughts? No,
Yeah,
all my
so-
anxious thoughts?
Search me, O God, test me, and know my anxious thoughts. He's searching you and testing you, but then he throws in know my anxious thoughts? Is he trying to get like relief?
What is that? That's a
relief
vegetarian.
from that? It's amazing.
touching that.
Pork, Asian pork
There's pork in
sandwich.
there.
Unbelievable.
A little bit of bottom.
What do you guys think about that?
Oh, okay.
I think for me, like when I go a long time without slowing down and taking time to think about what's internally, asking those questions and asking God to search my heart, you do end up getting anxiety. At least I do personally, because I don't sometimes know where I stand. I haven't taken a look at myself for a long time.
Okay.
And a lot of these things go, they become, where you get self-conscious about certain things, and you know that something's off, but you're not taking the time to really recognize what it is, and so you just kind of feel off and anxious about it for months or seasons of life until you stop and slow down and then start asking yourself.
What do you think? What do you think? Oh, sorry. What do you think God thinks of you? Like, if you're really to be honest in front of whoever watches this, what do you think God really thinks of you?
Sometimes I think he thinks I'm kind of like a maybe two-faced or like a fraud in many ways.
Okay.
Because sometimes people will pump me up.
Politics.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm
I'm
just
probably
kidding.
lying right now. But that's what makes the question so hard, is because sometimes you find out a little bit more about yourself, and you start to look at all the flaws or issues that you have, and then it makes those apparent, and they're glaring. And sometimes it's hard to even ask those kind of questions, because you're afraid to find out what the answer is going to be, because you already kind of know, but you don't want to be honest with yourself. And so sometimes I feel like he's, he can be pretty critical, or he looks at me like, hey, I know who you are really deep down inside, even better than you know yourself. And I think you're fooling yourself if you don't take a step back and look at it.
I think the anxiousness comes along with that fear and the courage you need to have the Lord examine you. You're going to be anxious. Know my anxious thoughts.
I honestly think God looks at you through the lens of love.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he's not aware of your mistakes. Man tends to look at yourself through your faults, what you're always trying to improve upon. But I think God's like, you know what? Yeah, he's not a perfect creature, or she isn't, but he looks at like a strength that he can work with and use for his glory. He's faithful. Yes, he screws up and messes up and everything, or whatever that I think everybody can be summed up in one word.
What's that?
No, I'm just saying every person to me, when I know someone, I can think of them in like one word or a phrase.
Really?
Yeah. And I think that's how God sees you, like a positive attribute.
You guys have the courage to let him go around the room and give the one
Yeah,
word?
I'd like to hear
No,
this.
Joe
I
did
don't,
that
I'm not
before,
out.
and I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you remember that a few months ago.
It was
He's
back,
like, you are this, and you are that, and you are that.
It was back at the house.
And I thought that was pretty spot on, pretty interesting.
Wow.
Doesn't necessarily we have to be like reveal what it is, but I think that truly that God looks at you as like, here's your strongest character, and he can work with that.
When you think about it, I keep wanting to go back to this verse, which I will, so I'll throw it out, the New Testament version of this, 2 Corinthians 13, verse 5. Examine yourselves to see whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless, of course, you fail the test. And I trust that you will discover that you have not failed the test. So, again, is Christ in us? Are we resembling Christ in our speech and our actions and our words, in how we work, how we forgive, how we love, or are we being fleshy? Are we judging? Are we being impatient? Are we being anxious?
See, I think that self-examination is important every day. I think every
tuning
day.
up.
I think every day we need to examine where we are and what we're doing as it relates to our faith.
You're
Because
running
that
out of-
always helps recharge the battery, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we do that with our cars. Where, you got gas in your car. You need some more gas. It's like, hey, God, I guess I need some more patience today, right? Or I need more love today.
Or even if it's immediately after you screw up, even then, I think it's good to reach out and say, I recognize that was a mistake.
I think He uses our mess ups that either we're gonna withdraw, or we're going to dig deeper and say, God, I still need your help. It's like, oh, you do still need my help today too?
Yeah.
And I think when we messed up yesterday, it's real easy for
right.
us to say that. When we went a whole week without having no problems and no sin, that somehow maybe when we get there on Sunday, we're like, I don't even know if I need to go to church today. That kind of attitude.
Why did you bring that up?
You had a good week last week.
Yeah.
Because I took a 5-hour nap after church on Sunday. That's why.
Wow, 5 hours. That was good. I took a 2 hour.
That's awesome.
I think it shows what he's saying. If that's our attitude, it shows a heart that loves the focus of your relationship, right? So, I love my wife. I think she's great. She's not perfect. She sometimes drives
I didn't
me
mean that,
nuts, right? But I want to be the best Scott I can be, so that Jackie gets the best of me, and that really is motivated by love. She really has helped me. I remember there was a time we were arguing and we had a pretty big blow up. I think it was over the kids and that kind of thing. And she, after we resolved it, I was feeling this separation between her and I, this emotional distance. And she looked at me and she says, "Scott, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be there for you. I love you." And what that really helped me to understand is, even when she's pointing out things that she disagrees with me about, it doesn't mean that the relationship's not there. It doesn't mean that she loves me less. It doesn't mean that she wants to separate in terms of our relationship with one another. That for me is important. Now, God is the same,
That's exactly what I was thinking.
but more so.
Yes.
He's not saying, "Oh, you screwed up," or "I have a
Get outta
problem
here."
with this." He's saying, "No, I still love you, and
Come
I want to
closer.
stay connected with you. I want to deal with this flaw in our relationship so that we can be even tighter." Right? I
He
mean, I
doesn't
guess.
he doesn't go,
Yeah.
that's one.
That's why. That's right.
He doesn't
6
give-
more
Right.
times and then
She
that's
doesn't
it.
give you that.
He
like
doesn't
how
say,
we
"I
do
want
with
to
each
shake
other.
you."
Yeah, shake you.
I want to
Yeah.
shake you.
These are all internal
Jokes. Yeah,
jokes that
whatever.
these guys are.
Hopefully they're watching that.
Yeah, hopefully they're watching. Right? So, is it easier? So, I don't even. How many have actually done this with God?
Done what?
This prayer?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time?
Most of the
Is
time.
anyone afraid to do it a little bit?
I am.
Well, it's always
rolled that
scary.
plate. What's
Sure.
The prayer?
We're-
Oh, you
we're
did. You
good.
brought sandwiches. So,
What's
the verse, well, we might as well jump right in one more time real quick on it, because it's
Oh, okay.
okay, listen. Oh, search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive ways in me, and lead me in the way everlasting.
You know, when I think of anxious thoughts, for me, it's, I just listened to it just now again, and I didn't think about this the first time around, but when I think of anxious thoughts, for me, it's when I'm not trusting God. My fear is definitely a fight against faith. And so those anxious thoughts are probably those areas where I go, I'm not really trusting God in this area. So whether that's, are we going to have enough money to do what we got to do? I got a guy at my house right now who's working on my air conditioner. We have 2 ACs, and it's the one on the top, and I can get an anxious thought about, are we going to have enough money to pay for the repair on that? Or is Capital One going to have to help us out, right? So I can get anxious, but that's
What's
saying,
in your wallet?
yeah, that's saying I'm trusting Capital One or Wells Fargo or my resources to be enough, when I should be saying, okay, God, this is in your hands, right? So I think that I really wasn't thinking about that the first time I read it in your devotional and when it was read the first time. But when you just read it, I started thinking, maybe that's what he's asking. See if there's any area of my life where I'm not trusting you, God.
I was just saying, do you think it also could be something that God's revealing to you that He wants to change from within you?
Sure.
Like when you open yourself up, it's again like what we were saying, careful what you pray for. Something that you don't want to deal with and He wants to deal with it.
For sure. I think that's, most of the time, that's what it is.
And if you think, I think people have said this before, but it's almost like the thing that we're worried about the most is the thing that we're not trusting God with.
Right.
So if I'm worried about money all the time, or I'm worried about my health all the time, or I'm sitting too close to Gary because because all these things that the world has now showed us, right? It's like exposed all these things that we could be fearful of. Oh, you might have lost your job. You might have had someone that got ill, or you're sitting next to someone that's not, quote unquote, got the, the magic, whatever you want to call that thing that they stick in our arms sometimes. So,
Right.
It's just, again, are we going to trust in a vaccine? Are we going to trust in, anything? It's like, even if we trust in a church, it's like, no, we're trusting in Christ, that He loves us enough to know that if your air conditioner dies and you've got to take out a loan for $8,000, then there's a reason possibly that maybe you're not supposed to do it. Or
He just shuddered.
He shuddered.
Eight.
I just wondered if
My
you
top
see-
figure was 6.
One of them, yeah, my top number in my mind was 6.
Who's your AC guy?
Yeah.
Because my AC guy actually told me that my air conditioner is like really bad,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it
yeah.
might break, and he says you might want to consider replacing it, because if you do get it in the middle of the, he's like, you're getting them is really hard right now, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, at first I'm like, well, I can have fear that my air conditioner is going to go out, or I'm just going to trust that maybe it might not go out till next year,
Right.
You have a
And I
swimming
can-
pool?
It's not me. It's our upstairs. Owen lives up there. But because I'm a kind
Just
father.
apply his rent to it.
Yeah,
The
what
repair.
rent? What
That's
rent?
what I was talking about.
Well, that's one way to get him out of the house.
Well, he's leaving in September to go to college, so he would have to grin and bear it for a few months if that's the case. So it's funny that you were talking about this. It's just sort of went towards money. I have in the past. I've had a lot of concern about that, and I started this new church back. We sort of started the journey back in September, and one of the things I was thinking about is, are we going to be able to make it financially? Is it going to be enough? It's all that kind of stuff. And over the course of almost a year now, God's really weeded that out of me, and I've seen that He has been faithful every single time to get me through the whatever financial challenges we've had. And I trust Him more with that than ever. But I remember having this conversation with Jackie. I looked at her and I said, do you think I have an unhealthy relationship with money? And we had a good discussion about that. So it was not just saying, search me, God, and see if there's, because I don't oftentimes hear a voice from God, but when I put that in the face of somebody else who knows me, they're able to say, oh, well, I think this is an issue or that's an issue. Or, no, you're good there. And I think that's helpful.
I have to go back to the air conditioning thing and give a shout out to Daryl. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
My air conditioner, I only have one, went out right in the middle of this heat wave. And of course, getting an air conditioning guy today, they give you a week or 2 out, maybe, right?
Oh, that's
and one of our brothers from Holy Smoke came through and fixed it for me real quick, and it's working fine right in the middle of the heat wave. Yeah, amazing. Huh?
Nice.
Wow.
So I put my faith. I said, Lord, I don't want to live without this air conditioner. I don't have a pool, and it's only the air conditioner that I have. What am I going to do? And sure enough, Daryl rose his hand and came.
Daryl.
So
I didn't know
Scott
Daryl
needs-
did air conditioning.
Well, he does a little bit of everything. He's
Really?
just,
He
yeah.
does it all.
Yeah,
So he
does
came
it.
over to your house and helped
He
fix
came
it?
over to our house, diagnosed it, and he says, I'm about 70% sure that this is what it is. As soon as the store opened on Monday morning, he got the part, came back over, got it taken
Now, this
care of.
is not a referral.
Daryl, where are you?
Not referring you, Daryl.
No.
Do not blame.
No, I'm thanking you.
Yeah,
I'm thanking you.
Thank you. And Scott is not allowed to call you. If he calls you,
I already have a guy at my house.
he's gone against his,
Yeah.
his advice. So, no one is really watching. You want to share the results of that conversation with your wife with us?
Yeah, she said, no, I think you're conservative. I think you have concerns just like I do. We just need to keep bringing it to the Lord and allow Him to be in charge. So that's what we've been doing. Okay, just a story, just to lay this out. Something was going on with my sprinkler valves. I have 6 valves in the backyard. They're in the ground. They're in line, so they're not the kind that are above anti-siphon valves. And I looked at it. It was filled with water. I got stuff from the city saying that we have a leak, and that was it. And so I called a guy over to my house, and I had a number in my head too. I had a number of what it would cost to fix all of those, and my number was at the most $400. When we were done, he said, "Yeah, I can come back in a couple weeks, and it'll probably be $700, but likely $800." I had a meltdown. I thought, there's no way I can do that. So I decided I was going to dig it up and figure it out. I dug it up, You know how much it cost me to fix it? $30. So God just gave me the wisdom and the back strength
And YouTube,
arm
probably.
strength. No, actually, I didn't look at YouTube. I just dug it up and I could see where the leak was. I replaced the valve that was leaking, and it was the easiest one on the outside.
Oh, nice.
So anyhow, it turned out to be a $30 fix as opposed to $700 or $800. Hopefully, this air conditioner is the same. But I guess I say all that to say, God has a way if we trust Him. It may require some effort on our part,
Absolutely.
but to work through our weaknesses. So anyhow, I guess that's it. Huh?
Every time there's a little deal like that, my wife says, well, what do you think? Should I call someone? And she goes, what do you think it'll cost? And I go, well, you've been asking me this for 15 years. When stuff comes up, I go, we used to charge 2 men in a truck for a day, $800. That was 10 years ago. But let's just say it's 2 men in a truck, fully outfitted truck, for a day. So 8 hours, $800. What do you want to do? Yeah, maybe we don't need to fix that. Or
Yeah,
well,
maybe
we
that
can
can
do
stay
this
where it is.
ourselves. And I go, do you mean both of us or you mean me?
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Well, hey, what do we got?
Yeah,
we're-
perfect timing.
we're
Perfect
done.
timing. You know what? Again, we didn't look at questions. We didn't ask questions, and
No
I don't even know if
questions.
anyone's watching.
No questions.
No questions. That's,
No
you know
questions
what?
that no one's watching.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Jess is watching.
Well, next week we'll bring you guys back and be participatory. We'll actually ask some questions and instead of just yammer like we did. Any parting words?
Well, what's great with it is this gets hosted then after the fact, and there are questions that come up.
Oh,
So
no, it's true.
Keep asking them, and we usually like to respond in the comments, but we might make a video sometime responding to just a list of the comments or something. Who knows? So
And if you're
it's
local,
not too late.
Fresno, Clovis area, we got a Holy Smoke tonight in Kingsburg. They're usually about an hour and a half. I hear there's amazing food at this one if you want to show up out in Kingsburg.
And homemade chicharrones this time.
Homemade chicharrones.
Oh, wow.
I saw those. Those
They're
look
amazing.
crazy.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Look crazy.
That
All
sounds
right.
good.
Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
See you.